I'm going to be discussing using the Magic Wand tool and the Quick Select tool to touch up a mask. And this image was already extracted with Image Extract. Now these buttons to use the Magic Wand or the Quick Select tool, the only thing those do is select the tool for you. I just thought it was handy to put the buttons right here in the panel next to all the other buttons, but it doesn't matter which way you do it. So let's discuss the Quick Select tool first. The one thing that the Quick Select tool does do though, unlike what the Photoshop buttons do, is if you're on a different layer, when you select that, it selects the mask for the Image Extract layer. Now, it's handy to just be on the mask because that's where you're going to want to paint to touch the mask up. Now with the Quick Select tool itself, it's going to make the selection based on the layer and not on the mask. As long as you don't have sample all layers included, it's going to make the selection just based on this layer as if the mask was not there. The area that we're going to touch up and do the demonstration on here, it's kind of hard to see here, but if I alt-click in the mask, you can see there's that area that's partially transparent. Against the background, you're really not going to probably ever know, but just to have something to show you what this would be used for. So select the Quick Select, and then under your brush settings, sample all layers, have this off. Like I say, you'll be on that mask there. Then you have the Add to Selection, Remove from Selection, or New Selection here, and then you've got your brush size. You can also use the bracket keys, the right and left bracket keys, to make your brush bigger or smaller. I'm just going to go somewhere in there. And you see I have the Add to Selection on there. And you can see that even though we're on the mask, it is selecting by color there. So it's taking the color information for the layer itself. And now that we have a selection made, you can see where we have a little bit of that background showing through. I could come in here with a white brush on the mask itself, paint right in that. And the purpose of making that selection is that way you don't have to be perfect with your brush. You can see I'm painting right over the edge of the line there. And that selection protects it from being painted outside the line. Now I'm painting white, but I'm actually painting it in the foreground mask. So if you look at the brush tool that we did, it actually painted in the mask. So even though we were looking at the original image, we're painting in the mask. And the difference there is if you alt-click on your mask, you're viewing your mask, whereas you click outside the mask. If you just click on the mask without the Alt button or Option button on Mac, you'll be painting in that mask but not actually looking at the mask. All right, so the same thing with the Magic Wand tool. It's going to work the same way. So if I select the Magic Wand tool here, it selects your Magic Wand and it also selects your mask for you. And you'll want to set your sample size and the tolerance. Contiguous or discontiguous. I guess it depends on the image. For this image, we'll just use contiguous. Oops, did not mean to do that. Meant to grab the hand tool here. All right, so same thing. We'll just click on the mask here, or not on the mask, excuse me, on the layer. But this is actually, again, even though our mask is selected, it's selecting based on the color information of the original image. And the same thing is with the Quick Select tool. Our end goal here is to paint in that mask. So I'm actually going to alt-click on the mask so we can view it in here this time. If I grab the paintbrush tool, grabbing a white brush, now you can see I can go right over the edges and paint. And because we had that selection made, We're not actually painting over the edges. Now when we look at the image, that's a little bit sharp. I may have wanted to feather the selection, but then again, I'm pixel peeping here because you're never going to typically look in that high of a zoom anyway. So really pretty basic. Use the quick select and magic wand tools as needed to make selections in your image. And then you can paint in those selections in your mask. So, one other thing I'm actually going to talk about too is this expand and contract button. Since we're here, it'll be a good time to talk about that. I'm just going to grab the quick select. And so this expand and contract, these are just expanding and contracting the selection. It's the same thing as if you go select, modify, expand, or contract by 1 pixel. But it's just a lot easier to click one button and have to go through the menu and then type in 1. This will just, you see each time I contract this, I've clicked it, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. It's contracted that in by 1 pixel with each click. If I expand, it expands by 1 pixel for each click. So if you want to make sure that you don't have any fringe left after you make your selection, so I'm on the quick select here. If I make my selection, and then we could just contract it by 1, and that can make sure if you're trying to paint something on, you're not going to have the fringe because you're making sure that fringe is not part of this selection. Anyway, just couple handy little buttons there in addition to the other buttons that I thought were good one-click buttons to put inside the panel. Anyways, pretty basic stuff. Thanks for watching, and be sure to watch the other videos where I go over more editing techniques.